right over the ocean that we'll see as we're walking up to the rainforest. There's a mountain that they built inside of the rainforest, and then they built little cave openings here just to kind of add to the aesthetics, but also to cover up air shafts. And we have air that's coming out. You can see it moving the plants over here. We're going to walk right in front of where that air is being expelled. And we're going to talk about that as we go downstairs. So we're going to go down into the basement. We have about 2 acres of machinery, piping and tanks down there. This is how we manufacture the temperature and the humidity different in each of our different areas, and it's how we can use this area as a research facility. We also bring the rain. You can see the gray nozzles that are up ahead. That is for the rain, and at this time of year, in December, January, and February, we will have rainfall that happens when we're not here. Thank goodness. The biggest challenge for creating the rainforest was actually creating shade. They had to create shade from the sunlight. So they planted banana trees up against the walls, very large leaves. These banana trees gave them their best crop that they had. Their white potatoes failed because of disease and pests. They had to rely on sweet potatoes to replace their white potatoes. They had a lot of other problems with crops. They didn't get their corn to reproduce well, so they had to replace that with some other types of starches. They had a hard time producing enough calories, so they only had 1,700 calories a day to eat. And another challenge, some of us think was even worse than not having enough calories, the water, as we go from our highest point to our lowest point. And we're going to walk down into an area that we call the lung of the biosphere. It's an engineering solution to a problem of building a glass house that's going to sit in the sun with a tight seal. We like to call the rainforest itself, though, the lungs of the earth, because it's producing lots of oxygen. So follow me as we follow the water.
Where are you from?
From Eastern Canada. You guys are from Florida, right?
Yeah, we're from Florida.
Oh, we're way up north.
Yeah,
because it expands and contracts like our lungs. And it does that because of this rubber. Actually, it's simulated. It's not even really coming from rubber trees. It's a pipe-along. And it's a diaphragm that wraps all the way around the room, other than this big weight in the middle. And the reason why we needed an expanding and contracting room is because the sunlight is coming into the glass portion of the biosphere, which is sealed, and the air inside of that is expanding. The air needed an escape route. It comes down the tunnel into this room and pushes up on the hypalon, on the diaphragm, and it makes that go up and expands the volume of the room. The opposite happens at the nighttime when the air is contracting inside the biosphere, inside the glass area. There's a danger of implosion rather than explosion. The air has to be pushed back up the tunnel to replace that contracting air. So instead of making just a big bubble over this room, they put a weight in the middle of it, so that that would push down on the air pressure. Now we're no longer a tightly sealed building. but we do keep the air pressures different from inside this room and just outside of it. So I'm going to open the door, and if you look at the legs around where the metal ring is in the middle, see if you can see some movement of the legs.
Lung disease.
Counter the pressures they were anticipating. They built the second lung because it's the fail-safe. It's the duplicate. It's the one that in case the synthetic rubber compound inside gets pierced somehow, they have a backup. There's a little greenhouse that's here, and that has some plants inside of it. But on the horizon where we're getting ready to walk, you'll see many more greenhouses that were used when the Biospheres were inside. They were used for a couple of different reasons. They were the first place that the plants were put into quarantine when they were first brought to Arizona.